Welcome back to the Solitary Practice Podcast. I hope everyone else had a busy and productive week. I know mine was. We are in the thick of the growing season, I guess, for spring, so I have been tampering rather extensively with everything, but the hayfields look good. The peas, the potatoes, the corn, they're all up. The onion sets look good. It's just been busy making things grow. I went to my daughter's home and had a little chat with her tomato plants. They were a little sluggish in the germination. She was concerned she had done something wrong. Not really wrong. She's further north. The time's different when you get a little further north. But I had a quick chat with her tomato seeds while she was showing them to me, and she has 22 of them up now, so I think that problem is pretty much solved. Did some work on her flower beds, those kind of things. She's none the wiser, but she's all very happy because her plants are growing. And honestly, keeping the kids happy just kind of amuses me, so that is done, and we are good. I have been struggling a little bit. I have someone that I am working with, and once in a very great while, I run across somebody who's, I guess, fairly sensitive to energies and like personal energies. I'm not sure what we want to call it, but most people don't. Well, I'll take that back. People know there's something a little different, but they usually chalk that up to me being cold or reserved, which is fine. But every now and then you get one. They can kind of pick up on that. I'm going to say internal vibration. The face that I give the world is not my actual face for obvious reasons, and they can pick up on that. They know what they're looking at is not what it actually is, and it makes them kind of, I guess, uncomfortable. So I'll be working with this coworker for quite some time. It is clear that I make them unbelievably anxious. So I have been finding new and interesting ways to avoid, I guess, working directly with them. That isn't going to work forever. I am going to have to, get in there. We are going to have to work one-on-one on our particular project. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. I have spent a tremendous amount of energy just dampening mine. While normally I keep it kind of pushed down, lately I've really had to double and triple that effort and try to really throttle it way down so it's less detectable and it makes the coworker less uncomfortable. I have never seen anything get so jumpy so quickly. And there's nothing really wrong, but I mean, if you drop something on the floor, we're going to go like full-scale panic attack. It's getting remarked upon. I know what it is. They're not into this sort of thing, so they're not really sure why, but they are jumpy. And part of that has been that I just decided that I'd run my own personal energy. It's hard enough to suppress it, but when you've got a lot of it, it's even harder to throttle it down. I could channel some off into the tanks, and I have done that, but I don't really want to do it like that, so that's not what we're going to do. Instead, I'm going to do some traveling. I'm not much into, I guess, ritualistic magic or ceremonial magic. That's not really my thing. However, I do have, we're going to say, ritual or prescribed steps that I take for certain works or certain things that I do. And sometimes it's for a mindset shift. If you do the same thing all the time before you do something or while you're doing something, it just kind of helps your mind kind of switch over into what you're doing. It's like a training thing. I don't really use it like that for a whole lot. I have there's no good word for it. We're going to say like I have I really don't have a good word for this. Like a respectful greeting. I don't know. A process for which I basically make my presence known sometimes when I go to certain places. It's not for a lot of them. I'm trying to think of a good example. If I'm going to work on the borders of the farm, perhaps. Let's try this one. Maybe this will be a good one. So, for example, if I'm going to work on the borders of the farm and I just want to reinforce that, or I want to do something, put something in place, check it. A lot of times I will do, for lack of a better word, perimeter checks. And I do them mostly on the astral. It's, simple enough. But when I move onto the astral for, like this, we're going to call it a perimeter check, I don't just kind of like walk out and there I am, like I would with pretty much anything else. I don't just like poof, there you are kind of thing. It's a very prescribed step on, and it is the action of that particular step, how the foot lands, and what happens when that contact is made. And I'm kind of like gesturing for it, but not that you guys can see that, but there is a particular step that I take, and with that step there is a energetic release. I don't know what you want to call it. It's just, it's like a signature kind of thing, and it, when I step down, it's very formal, and it basically activates everything, and it is essentially a, I am here, we're doing this is the purpose. This is not run up to me and chat with me about, I don't know, whatever's bothering you at this point. This is, I am at work. I guess maybe it's like a magical do not disturb sign. And so there is a very precise formula that I follow when I go to check the perimeters, or if I'm going to do any work with any of my, I don't know, stuff that I have set up on the perimeters of the farm. Most often for a perimeter check, I'll do it from the astral. If I'm going to do other work, I'm going to get off the astral, I'm going to get elsewhere. And I will not be doing anything tied physical plane wise. I always work higher level, as above, so below, that kind of thing. I suppose I could do it from below, and as below, so above, but I find that the trickle up effect is really, really slow, whereas the trickle down effect is a little bit more speedy and efficient. Same thing if I am going to go to the magpie's house. We're going to call it the magpie's house. I use a door for that most of the time. I mean, I could just pop in through any of the 3 entryways. I could also just literally pop in wherever. But usually if I'm visiting, that is not my house, so to speak. Like, this is not my area. I know that it belongs to somebody else, and I'm using belong with air quotes. It's basically their territory. They may or they may not be there, but it's sort of like, I guess, ringing the doorbell, or again, announcing my presence. And so it's very similar to walking the perimeter, but when I step in here through, I tend to use the door because I just think it's more polite than just popping up wherever. So I always come in the same area. I didn't always have a door there. I was asked to build doors at one point, and so I put a door there because I needed somewhere to stick a door. Some people are very, very fond of doorways. So anyway, the long story short, I put a doorway there, and so I generally come in through the door. And when I do, and again, it's a similar thing. I'm stepping out. When I do that, I do it in a precise way. I always do it in the same precise way. It does not matter how fast I'm moving. Like, it could be an emergency situation, but that first step in is always going to be the same. And when it, again, touches down, there is that formal, in this case, it's more of a greeting and an announcement of, again, my presence. I am here. It's just kind of like a little calling card and an acknowledgement of the space. And then I'm going to proceed with what I'm doing. Is it a ritual? Yeah, I guess in a very loose sense, because it is something that I do every time. And, is it ceremonial? Nah, I don't have to do it. I choose to do it. It's something I've made into a habit over the years. And I've been contemplating this a little bit because I am going to take some time out of my schedule right now, and I'm going to go visiting. And I call it like the tour. I'm going to go take a tour of places that I have not been in quite a while. For instance, the Magpie's house is going to be probably one of the first ones I stopped. I thought I was going to save it toward the end. I usually enjoy stopping there. I have not run into any of the others. There are 8 others that are sometimes there. I have not run into them in quite a few years now, but I like to stop by once in a while. The house has been empty for quite some time. But there's a plant in the front window. Anyway, I like spending time there. There are some very comfortable rooms. They have some fabulous work rooms in that particular house. The alchemy lab is noteworthy. There's also a forge. It's basically a workroom, but it's with a forge, and it's meant for magical implements. And you guys don't know the magpie like I know the magpie, but the magpie loves his magical objects. So there's some very cool workrooms. There's also a semi-decent library. It's not really for reading. It's more for working. I'm not sure if that's going to make sense either. You have to be there to see it. But anyway, it was always fun to be there, particularly when the other ones were there. If you ever do stop by, which I don't think you will, but if you do, do not play cards with any of them. That is a pro tip. So yeah, I thought I'd go there for the toward the end so that I could really like commit some time and stay there. I have been known to hang out in that particular house and area, for days at a time sometimes. I've kind of reassessed my, I'm going to call them travel plans, and decided that that is not where I need to be at this point. There's been a lot of interesting things going on with my, I guess, off-plane work. If you spend a lot of time working elsewhere versus working here, after a while you kind of get sensitive to the ship. So, yes, I'm here, but really my focus is more elsewhere. And you can kind of get out of balance there if you're not careful with it. And one of the things I can find is that I'm starting to drift my balance more toward off plane and less toward on plane. And I'd like to reset that balance before I get actually out of balance. I could just kind of feel the drift. Part of that is I'll work out a little bit less, and I'm just going to take some time to kind of reset. And so, yes, I'll continue to travel around, but I will do it in a more focusing on me kind of way, which means I'm going to tour the houses. I have several houses in different places. Occasionally, I'm away for long lengths of time. Not, I guess, Earth time. It sounds funny, Earth time. Yeah, so time is very. I've always struggled with the time, and you'll hear me struggle with the time a lot because time is kind of relative and subjective and all those fun words. But yeah, so sometimes I'm away for a long time. It doesn't seem like long here, but it's long there. And so I have over the years kind of set myself up in a few spots. I have a few places where I can stay if I'm going to be out and about for long periods of time. I also have the inn or I always call it the inn. I'm sure it has another name, but I always call it the inn. And if you can locate it on the plane that you're in, you can always stay there. I apparently have been there a lot because I have my own room there now. I might stop there. There's always the chance I might meet the innkeeper again, and that is always an exciting thing because you don't usually run into him too much. Usually I get the girl, and she's very nice, don't get me wrong. She's quite nice, but the innkeeper is a fascinating thing to talk to. So yeah, I'm going to kind of reevaluate my trip. I'm not going to spend as much time at the Magpies. I will probably kick that out of the way first. Just get that over and done with. I guess my big concern there is I just want to make sure the plant in the front window is fine. I briefly thought about touring through one of the cave systems. There's a lot of stuff in storage there, and I got it kind of in my back of my mind that I am going to go there and see what survived the fire and didn't, but I never get around to it. I think about it, but I never get there. I don't really need the town on the other side of the mountain range. And again, I'm using our language terms for this stuff. It doesn't necessarily equate, but I'm just going to kind of toss it out there in human speak, for lack of a better word, and we'll worry about the rest of it later. From there, I'll probably tour around. There's a couple of other places I would like to check in on. I don't really want to stay long. I might swing by one or two of the markets. They're always, if nothing else, entity watching is a fine way to spend an evening. So I want to tour all through them. I am still ducking out on a couple of other entities, and honestly, I kind of think part of the incentive for this trip is because if I keep bouncing around, it's really hard to track me. Also, I am consciously not doing this in a way that would be logical for me to do it, which is how I tend to do things, and that would be the expected way that I would do it. So I am going to be popping through these places kind of at random, and that should give a few things something to think about. Towards the end, I think I'm going to go into the darkness in the west, and I have a room in a manor house there. It is not mine. There is I guess we're going to call it a god, for lack of a better word, that has that particular manor house. I stop by from time to time. We don't really talk. I want to say we don't really interact, but we kind of do because occasionally we will take a turn around the gardens that are there. Again, nobody's talking to anybody. We may walk together for a while, if we're doing any form of, I guess for lack of a better word, speaking, it's certainly not vocal. It's more of an energetic commingling. I find that I am most comfortable speaking in the energetic language because you can do so much more with it than you can with the limitations of like verbal language. Verbal language is very limited and you're not as nuanced and detailed and you just can't get as much into it as you can if you're speaking in the pure energetic language. If we have any conversation at all, that'd be the kind of conversation that we had. It's been years and years and years, and I can honestly say I think we might have 3 sentences between us. But I enjoy spending time there. It is very quiet. It's a great place to kind of reset. I think, there's not a lot of distraction, there's not a lot going on, and you have plenty of time for contemplation. It gives you an opportunity to really evaluate, and again, the time thing is funny, but what's coming? Where you are, where you're going, where you've been, things that you need to know otherwise. Those things are much easier to sit with there. You could pick them up anywhere, but it is nice that when you are there's no, I'm going to say, distraction from it. So when that information comes in, you can just kind of sit with it and then digest it. And lately I have gotten an absolute ton of information coming in. The information system has been kind of on an all-time high, and I've gotten kind of annoyed with it and thought maybe I ought to turn it off. I don't even know if I can turn it off. I don't really think I will, but at one point I was like, I think I need to turn this thing off. It is just slamming with so much information, and the people are not liking that I know way too much. Also, I get really irritated with the people because I can tell them, and then they tell me that could never happen and not to worry about it, and then it happens, and then I have to run cleanup, and then I get really annoyed with the people. So I've got a lot of that going on too, which makes me think that some quiet time in this very dark manor house is going to be just exactly what the doctor ordered. From there, I think I will get back and I am going to have to basically bite the bullet and do several things that I'm not too interested in doing magically, but I will have to do. We have a rogue animal here, for lack of a better term. The initial thought was that, they were very sensitive and you just kind of had to take your time with them. This is not the case. I have been saying this is not the case for like 3 months now. Nobody believes me. Well, there you have it. Okay, so there's another thing that I've been telling them that nobody listens to. As of this afternoon, everybody has decided this animal is completely rogue and doesn't listen to anybody, and something needs to be done about it. And I'm really glad they got here. I just wish it didn't take 3 months. And apparently now that has been handed to me because I'm good with the animals. The animal isn't going to enjoy this, the people aren't going to be happy with this, and I'm certainly not going to love doing it. But I know exactly how to solve the problem, so I will be solving it. I don't think moving from complete freedom and daily free-for-all, practically feral and doing what you want, into content, happy member of, I don't know, farmyard society is where this animal wants to go. It's where it is going. And there will probably be people out there who think, well, don't crush it. I'm not going to crush it, but we are going to have a moment or two where we look at the reality of the situation. And if you want to continue on where you are with all these things that you like, then you kind of got to make some compromises here. And this particular animal is not big on compromise. It hasn't ever been made to compromise. It has been like, oh, you're so cute, and give it whatever it wants, and now it is practically a rogue being. And I'm getting a little old for rogue beings, I've got to tell you. I don't mind them, but I've got to be in the mood for them, and I am not presently in the mood for it. I've kind of put it off for about a week or so, but there was an incident today in which the animal got loose. And I'd like to say that the animal got loose on its own, but it didn't. It got loose because people didn't listen to me. So everyone here is very fond of the animals, and the animals are, I'd like to tell you they're part of the family, but I think they might supersede the family in most people's mind. These animals live in what can only be called the lap of luxury, not by people standards, but by the animals standards, because we don't do the people standards, we do what would the animal like. And so there has been this urge to let this absolutely feral animal be free because it would like it. And yes, it would absolutely like it. The problem is if you turn the feral animal free, you can't catch it. Well, they can't catch it. Anyway, we've been back and forth over this for like 2 months now. We continue to have the discussions, and today it was decided that the best thing to do is that like 15 acres of field was not enough for this animal. It needed more. I don't know how much more it could possibly need, but it needed more. And the solution was to open the gate to the next pasture over so that instead of like, I don't know, 10 or 15 acres, now we got like 25 acres. And so this animal has this giant amount of space. And at first, yeah, everything was okay because, we spent the first 2 hours walking around and like smelling everything and having like a light snack. And they came in. I was working. I work from home, so I was here working. I was not on a side of the house in which I would see this until it was, much too late. And I was informed that the animal had been set free in both pastures and everything was fine. It was just walking around having a light lunch. I could have told you then that it was not having a light snack, it was thinking. But I don't know, people don't seem to think that animals think. They think, they connive, they plan, they're not stupid. And this one is no dummy either. So it waited. Because if somebody's sitting out there watching you, that is not the time when you spring for the escape. You wait until they drop their guard, and this is not a dumb animal. About 2 hours later, I heard hooves, I heard banging, I heard four-wheelers spinning around, people yelling, and then not one animal, but all of the animals went past my office window. Full throttle. I have never seen the mini pony move that fast in my entire life, but she was right there with them. Her legs are substantially shorter than everybody else's, so she's got to run. It's like the Energizer Bunny went crazy. And now we have an entire herd of animals running around, being led by our resident feral creature. Needless to say, in the middle of a very important meeting, I yanked the internet cable out of my computer, pretended I had an internet outage, and ran outside to assist because at this point, various things are going on. People had appointments, and we are down to one elderly person on the farm. And said elderly person is not having any luck catching these animals. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with animals, but if you chase them with a four-wheeler, they don't stop for that. That kind of winds them up a little bit more. And now everybody's in panic mode, and they're all just running everywhere. And there's clearly no plan other than panic and scatter. I'm about to lose a barnyard full of animals. I was not happy. So I went out. It became immediately clear that everybody was just freaked out of their mind, running around. And the first thing you have to do is get them to be sane enough where you can possibly maybe get a hand on them. And then go from there. So I took the weakest link. It seemed like the smart thing to do. If you can get one, sometimes others will follow. And so I took the weak link, which was the baby horse. And yeah, there's no good way to do it. I pulled up from the ground. I pulled up for me. And then I just kind of like locked on energetically to this poor little horse and made it calm down. And it's funny because it's not small. I mean, I'm calling it a baby. The thing outweighs me by 400 pounds. Basically, just made it be calm. And it stopped. It started eating grass. It just kind of like everything else is running, and this thing is just like standing there, quietly eating grass. And I did not have the emergency halter or lead rope because the other person had it on the four-wheeler and really didn't need that involved because I'm trying to, again, keep this animal from having a fit. We're working on the calm thing. You can magically tamper with animals and stuff like that, but if you then deliberately do something that would upset it, you're basically just killing your own work. So I'm gonna try to push my luck. So I took this 6-foot dog leash and just made it into a halter, put it on this baby horse, and led it to the barn. The little guy looked completely confused about this the entire time, but my thought was, if you've got the baby, the mother might come. And if nothing else, the mini pony's gonna go because she does not want to run. Rather than kick, rather than panic, rather than question the fact that I've just created a halter out of a dog leash and stuck it on his head and I am now trying to coax him across the field, the worst he did was stop a couple times and look a little bit confused. The rest of the time he walked directly out, loaded up into the barn. He was quiet, he was good. Honestly, he's quite the little saintly fellow. He deserves a gold star for that. Shortly thereafter, as expected, the mini pony thought, thank goodness, I can go back to the barn and nap, and she chugged out there. and then was able to catch the rest of the creatures and really was left only with the feral one. I did get the feral one in. I will admit to tampering a little harder than strictly necessary with the feral one, but when they get themselves that worked up, sometimes it's really hard to get through to them. Was able to get them to calm down enough to realize everybody else had gone back and was having lunch, and instead we're running around out here like an absolute lunatic. At that point, it decided it might be missing something. Food is a great motivator with animals, and it took off running and put itself basically back into the fence. Gates were closed, gates were locked. I received sincere apologies from the people who did not listen to me. It's kind of a normal thing here. We have these chaos moments a lot. The people mean well. They want the animals to be happy. They want the animals to have everything that they could possibly want. We spoil here a lot. We are very fussy about everybody having everything they could possibly want, not by people standards, but by the animal standards. So they enjoy a large amount of freedom here. They are pretty much allowed to do whatever they want, and all of their needs and wants are provided for them. It gets a little ridiculous once in a while. And usually they pay you back, if you want to keep tabs, with extreme loyalty and dedication, and they alert you to things that your senses would not pick up on. But feral creature number one and I are going to come head to head, because after today's escapade, they are not on the good list with the family at the moment, and I've got to get them kind of back on the good list before they decide that we need to get rid of this one. We won't get rid of it, but they're cranky about the escape. For anybody interested, feral animal decided to try to traipse through the woods and managed to find a deer path and used that deer path to evade the fence and took a whole trip through the woods to pop out on the other field on the other side of the fence. Unfortunately, the rest just followed along because sure, why not? You know, we're all going on a trip today. Yeah, it was a circus. Absolute circus. I have to think about how I am going to work with the feral one. They are not receptive to any form of energetic manipulation. They're incredibly sensitive to that. Even today, throttling the panic down enough so that I could get it to a level where it could calm down enough to realize that everybody else had left was an experience. Now, some of that was because we had other people around and they proved distracting. They don't mean it, they're just trying to help, but it kind of tampers with the work. Of course, they don't know I'm working, so they don't know they're tampering. If they knew, they'd probably stay out of it. So I'm going to have to figure out a new way to do this. There are other ways, but it's going to be interesting to figure out. All right, I have bored you for long enough with my Chaos on the Farm stories. I think I will stop here for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, as always, share it with others. If you have any questions, you have a topic you want to hear more about, I don't know, you just feel like sharing your thoughts, whatever works for you, you can contact me through my website, thesolitarypractice.com. You have the option there. You can leave me an email, send me a voice message, whatever works. As always, thanks for listening. I do appreciate you taking time out of your day to do that, and I will see you next week.